The HOA president stood on Isaiah Reed's porch with a seizure notice in one hand and a camera crew behind her. "This farmhouse is now association property," she said, while neighbors watched his weathered black hands tighten around the old brass key. How could a 420-acre farm that existed before the subdivision suddenly belong to an HOA? Why did the county clerk refuse to look him in the eye? And why did Isaiah stay so calm when they pasted the red notice on his front door beside his late wife's wreath? 10 minutes later, her mortgage bank called him directly, and every smug smile on that driveway disappeared. The red notice snapped once in the wind. Isaiah Reed did not tear it down. He stood beneath the porch light with the brass key pressed into his palm. The paper had been taped beside Ruth's wheat wreath, brushing the ribbon she had sewn before her hands grew too weak to hold a needle. Marlene Whitcomb smiled toward the phones. "Mr. Reed, you ignored every lawful chance to resolve this. Effective immediately, Meadowview HOA is asserting control of this structure and surrounding access parcel." Nolan Vance, in a navy suit too clean for a farm porch, held a folder. Neighbors lined the road. Grace Holloway stood by her mailbox. 2 residents recorded from the ditch. Isaiah looked at the notice. "Read the bottom line." Her smile paused. "Excuse me?" "The bottom line, after the bold letters." Nolan laughed once. "This is not a courtroom." "No," Isaiah said. "It is my porch." The barn hinge tapped in the wind. Marlene's assistant lifted her phone higher, catching Isaiah's faded jacket, the red paper, and Ruth's wreath. "Sir, this is being recorded," Marlene said. "Then read it clearly." Marlene looked down. "Failure to vacate may result in lien enforcement, turnover, recovery of costs, and referral to county code compliance." Isaiah nodded. "And the parcel number?" Nolan stepped forward. "Details can be reviewed through proper channels." "I asked for the number." "It's listed." "Then say it." Only a sprinkler clicked across the road. The red paper lifted and covered half of Ruth's ribbon. Marlene turned toward the phones. "This is the obstruction we have dealt with for months. The HOA has tried to be compassionate." "Compassionate?" Grace said. No one answered her. Nolan lowered his voice. "Cooperate tonight, and Mrs. Whitcomb may recommend a private transition period." "My wife died in that front room," Isaiah said. The phones dipped. "She planted the pear trees behind this house." Marlene's jaw tightened. "Sentiment does not override recorded obligations." "No," Isaiah said. "Records do." A county vehicle rolled to a stop. Wade Brand stepped out with a tablet, leaving his door open. The warning chime dinged in the cool air. "Evening," Wade said. "Let's keep this orderly." "You came after hours for an HOA notice?" Isaiah asked. "Compliance matters don't always keep business hours." Marlene straightened. "Please document that he refuses access." "I refused a lie," Isaiah said. Wade tapped his tablet. "System shows pending association integration." "Since when?" His finger stopped. Nolan answered too quickly. "Not relevant tonight." Isaiah pressed the red notice flat. "Grace, can you see the last 4 digits?" Grace stepped closer. 7712. "My farmhouse parcel ends in 4086. The driveway went quiet, except for the paper trembling under his hand. Marlene took a breath. "That is a clerical issue." "No," Isaiah said. "That is the wrong land." Before Nolan could answer, the landline rang inside the house. Through the screen door, the kitchen light shone over Ruth's empty chair and the framed photograph on the wall. On the 3rd ring, Isaiah opened the door with the brass key in his palm, and the red notice fluttered behind him like it wanted to follow him inside. At 5:38 the next morning, Isaiah slid the latch on the horse stall and listened to the gate complain in the dark. The subdivision across the road slept behind black iron bars, except for one porch light and the blue blink of a security camera. His boots pressed frost out of the grass. Maybelle snorted warm air against his sleeve, smelling of hay and dust. "You heard all that noise," he murmured, pouring feed. "Didn't like it either, did you?" The mare bumped the bucket. At the farmhouse window, Ruth's photograph caught the first gray light. 3 white flowers stood in a jelly jar beside it. Her smile faced the kitchen table and the red notice he had laid upside down. He crossed the yard with a hammer in his belt. One hinge on the front gate hung low. When he lifted it, the metal screamed across the road. Calvin Moss looked up from the pasture fence, 2 feed sacks under one arm. He was 61, broad, with a white patch in his beard and a cold morning limp. "Saw the circus," Calvin called. Isaiah set the hammer against the post. "Didn't sell tickets." "They put that thing on Ruth's wreath." Isaiah's hand paused. "She would have told me to take it down before breakfast." "And then?" "Then she would have made breakfast." Across the road, a white golf cart rolled to the Meadowview entrance. Marlene Whitcomb sat beside the driver with a paper cup in one hand and a cream folder in the other, wearing the smile she saved for witnesses. 2 residents leaned close. One pointed toward Isaiah's barn. "They're talking about the trail," Calvin said. "Harmony Extension. Your south field is drawn in green. That field has my father's well under it. That won't fit on a flyer." A car door shut. Marlene stepped out and waved. "Mr. Reed," she called, "do you have a moment?" Isaiah wiped rust from his fingers. "I have chores. This will only take a minute." She stopped outside the fence, careful not to let her polished shoes sink into the damp shoulder. Neighbor to neighbor. Calvin stayed by the gate. Marlene's eyes moved to him. "Private association business. He leases pasture. Then he understands cooperation." Isaiah leaned the hammer against the post. "Say what you came to say." She opened the folder. "Last night was unfortunate. I don't want this to become ugly." "It got ugly when you taped paper over my wife's wreath." Her smile held. Meadowview families bought into a vision. Walking paths, clean frontage, open sight lines. My property is a farm. It is adjacent to our community. It was adjacent to pine trees before your gates went up. "We're offering a peaceful path," Marlene said. "Sign a temporary access acknowledgement, and the board can pause additional fines. While attorneys sort out the parcel issue. A number mismatch. Bring me the original covenant map. Nolan will provide documents at the proper time. Then my answer waits for the proper time." The first school bus groaned past, yellow light sliding over the repaired hinge. Behind Marlene, 2 residents pretended not to listen. Her voice thinned. "Stubbornness can be expensive, Mr. Reed. So can bad paper." The wind pushed through the gate. It did not sag now. It moved once, steady, and clicked shut between them. At 7:12 p.m., the Meadowview clubhouse smelled of lemon cleaner and new carpet. Isaiah sat at the far end of the table with his hat on his knee. Rain dotted the windows. Across from him, Marlene arranged folders while Nolan Vance clicked a silver pen. Denise Larkin, the HOA secretary, stood by the printer. She was 36, narrow-shouldered, with red nails and a smile that arrived before her words. "Water?" she asked. Isaiah looked at the cup. The ice was melting. "I'm fine." Marlene folded her hands. "Thank you for coming peacefully." "I came because your letter said failure to attend would be used against me." Nolan stopped clicking. "Standard language." "Then standard language brought me here." Near the wall sat Arthur Pell, 72. His hearing aid giving a thin whistle. Marlene opened the first folder. Your farmhouse, equipment, fencing, and animal structures sit inside the Meadowview influence boundary. My farm is not inside your HOA. No one claims you signed our covenants, Nolan said. Then why are you fining me under them? Marlene slid a page forward. Courtesy assessments. Isaiah read the top line. Unapproved livestock noise, $300. Residents complained. Names. We protect privacy. He turned to the next page. Visible tractor from roadway, $500. Nolan leaned back. Aesthetic impact can affect values. My tractor crossed that road before your drainage pond existed. That is not relevant to current standards. Arthur made a dry sound. It is if you bought next to a farm. Isaiah stacked the papers. I want the covenants, recorded map, and the authority you claim over parcel 4086. Denise said, I can print. The printer gave one beep. Denise froze. It's showing an error. Isaiah watched the green light blink. Looks awake. It jams. Open the tray. Her cheeks colored. Nolan closed his folder. Requests go through council. I'm making one now. And I'm giving you the procedure. Marlene softened her voice. Isaiah, may I call you Isaiah? No. The ice in the cup cracked. Marlene's mouth tightened. Allow survey access, and we can recommend suspending further assessments. What happens if I don't? The lien process continues, Nolan said. On land you admit is not bound by your covenants. On obligations tied to affected access, that phrase is not on any deed I own. It is in our interpretation. Arthur's chair scraped. Interpretation doesn't move a boundary stone. No, Arthur added. It sounds like a trap. Denise dropped a page. It slid near Isaiah's boot. He picked it up before she could bend. At the top was a cropped map. His south pasture shaded pale green, the farmhouse marked with a dotted line that did not match the road. Denise whispered, That wasn't meant. For me? Isaiah asked. Nolan reached across the table. That draft is privileged. Isaiah held it by one corner. Then why is my house on it? Marlene stood too fast. Adjourned. Isaiah folded the page once and set it beside the untouched cup, where melted ice had left a ring on the polished table. Send me the real map, he said. When he walked out, the printer behind Denise began to hum, and no one moved to stop it. The first certified letter arrived while the porch boards were still damp. Isaiah found it under the door at 8:06 a.m., his name typed above a parcel number that was not his. On the kitchen table, the cropped map from the clubhouse lay beneath Ruth's iron skillet. He slit the envelope with a butter knife. Visible agricultural machinery, $500, he read. Unapproved boundary fencing, $700. Commercial livestock activity, $900. By noon, 2 more envelopes had come. One was taped to the gatepost. Another sat in the mailbox with a county compliance card clipped to it. Isaiah put them in a folder and drove into Bryer County. The county office was too warm. Fluorescent lights buzzed over plastic chairs. A copier pushed toner into the room. At the counter, Emily Soto glanced up, dark curls pinned unevenly, pencil behind one ear. Parcel number? 4086, Reed Farm. Her fingers moved, then slowed. Isaiah watched the screen reflected in her glasses. Something wrong? It's showing a pending association integration note. Since when? I'd have to open the history. A door behind her clicked. Wade Brand stepped out, county badge crooked on his belt, coffee stain on his cuff. Emily, I'll take this one. She took her hand off the mouse. Isaiah set the folder down. Mr. Brand, Mr. Reed, busy week for you. Looks busy for my parcel, too. Wade smiled without showing teeth. Old properties require administrative cleanup. Then let me see what dirt you found. Wade tapped the tablet. Your frontage falls under a pending Meadowview review area. That does not mean ownership changed. Then why is your card clipped to an HOA fine? Coordination. With a private association. When standards impact county planning, departments communicate. Isaiah slid one notice under the glass. This says seizure referral. That language came from the association. Your card is on it. The lobby got quieter. Emily looked at the notice. The note is dated last month. Wade turned. Emily. She pressed her lips together. Isaiah's sleeve caught on sticky packing tape along the metal counter edge. When he pulled back, the tape clung to his cuff, stretching thin before snapping loose. He looked at the mark left on the faded fabric. Print the history, he said. Submit a records request, Wade said. I'm standing in the records office. And I'm telling you the process. Who changed the note? That is not available at the counter. Emily whispered. It should show. File room, Wade said. She stood, but her eyes moved to the printer behind him. Isaiah gathered his papers. That farmhouse predates Meadowview. A lot of things predate progress. Progress usually doesn't need the wrong parcel number. Wade's smile thinned. Careful. Accusing staff can complicate your position. So can refusing a lawful record. At the door, Emily's voice reached him under the copier hum. Sir. Wade looked over. Emily held up a blank intake form, her thumb covering a yellow sticky note underneath. Isaiah took it without stopping. Outside, in the hard white glare of the parking lot, he lifted the paper and saw 5 words in hurried pencil. Check the map revision date. By 4:17 p.m., Isaiah had folded Emily's yellow note behind the brass key. Grace Holloway crossed from her mailbox. You went to county. I drove there. That's not the same thing. It is for today. A golf cart bell chimed at Meadowview Gate. 6 carts rolled out. Marlene rode in front with a white binder on her knees. Nolan walked beside her. A younger man with a trimmed beard and chest camera hopped down near the ditch. Trevor Miles, Grace muttered. Films luxury houses. Trevor raised his camera. Meadowview Greenway corridor, he said. This neglected edge could become shared beauty for every family here. Isaiah stepped off the porch. The air carried cut grass and dry hay. Wind scratched through weeds along the stone line. Residents followed Marlene with paper maps. Afternoon, Isaiah said. Marlene gave him the public smile. Mr. Reed, we're conducting a review from public access points. You're past the ditch. Nolan lowered his phone. The shoulder is not your residence. The stone line is. Trevor turned the lens. Sir, are you against beautification? I'm against trespass. A woman in tennis shoes stepped back. A man in a blue vest leaned over the stones to film the field. Behind the line, Isaiah said. Marlene lifted her voice. This is the resistance the board has handled respectfully. Grace came down the slope. Respectfully sounds different where I come from. Nolan unfolded a map. Mrs. Holloway, this corridor is pending shared-use land. Show me the old map. This is the current exhibit. That isn't what I asked. Trevor whispered. Keep rolling. Isaiah felt the key press the note against his chest. He walked to the bend in the stones, knelt, and parted dry grass. Soil packed under his nails. A small metal plate appeared, dull green at the corners. Grace crouched beside him. Hold still. Marlene's smile thinned. Please don't disturb markers during a review. It's been here longer than your review. Grace wiped the plate with her sleeve. The stamped numbers came clean. 1914. The carts went quiet. Trevor's camera chirped once. Grace looked at Nolan's map. Your green line cuts 10 yards inside this marker. Nolan folded the page halfway. Historic markers are not always controlling. Then why did your map erase it? Marlene stepped between Grace and the camera. We are not litigating in a ditch. No, Isaiah said, rising with dirt on one knee. You're marketing in one. Trevor swung toward Marlene. President Whitcomb, should residents worry about delays? Residents should worry about one landowner blocking safe improvement, she said. Behind the gate, a bicycle bell rang, bright and out of place. Grace photographed the 1914 marker beside Nolan's map. I advise against posting incomplete information, Nolan said. I'm not posting, Grace said. I'm remembering. Two residents lowered their maps. Marlene closed her binder. Tomorrow evening, the board presents the full Greenway plan at the entrance. Everyone deserves to see what is being delayed. Bring the real boundary, Isaiah said. She stepped into the cart. We will bring what matters. When the carts rolled away, dust settled over the metal plate until the date looked buried again. At 6:03 p.m., two folding speakers crackled at the entrance to Isaiah's farm. Marlene had set the Meadowview banner on the public shoulder, close enough for the farmhouse to sit behind every phone camera. A poster board showed a painted trail through green lawns. Isaiah's south field had no barn, no well, and no stone line. Grace stood by the ditch. Pastor Eli Boone, 55, tall in a dark coat, waited beside her. Felicia Grant held a recorder near her notebook. Isaiah came down the drive with a long envelope. Marlene stepped to the microphone. Meadowview was built on safety, beauty, and shared value. But progress has been delayed by one unresolved frontage issue. The microphone hissed. She turned enough to place Isaiah at the edge. Some people do not understand that property affects everyone around it. Pastor Eli looked at the poster. They took your barn off the picture. Inside Isaiah's envelope were tax receipts, thin and yellowed, one for each year since he and Ruth bought the house back from his uncle's estate. Marlene gestured toward the board. This is not punishment. It is bringing neglected land into harmony. My wife planted those pears, Isaiah said. The microphone did not catch him. Felicia did. Her pen stopped. Marlene smiled. We will allow Mr. Reed a brief comment. We want transparency. Nolan moved behind the speaker table and touched a switch. Isaiah walked to the microphone. He laid the receipts on the plastic podium, smoothing the first page with his thumb. My name is Isaiah Reed. This land... The sound cut off with a sharp click. For 1 second, no one moved. The click hung over the ditch, cleaner than the applause from Marlene's front row. Isaiah looked at the dead microphone, then at Nolan's hand near the switch. Technical issue, Nolan said. Marlene returned to the mic. We appreciate his passion. Now, residents have asked about timeline. Felicia raised her voice. Did you cut him off? The equipment failed, Nolan said. The second speaker gave a low pop, still powered. Isaiah gathered the receipts. One slipped loose and skated across the pavement. A child's chalk drawing caught its corner, and the paper stopped beside a pink house with a square sun over it. Grace picked it up and read the date. 1988. Marlene's cheeks tightened. Please return private material. Grace handed it to Isaiah. I'm sorry. He tucked it into the stack. Not your paper to apologize for. Pastor Eli faced the crowd. Let him speak without that thing if you must. A resident muttered. "We came for the plan, not a sermon." Isaiah turned from the microphone. "Ask them why the map changed last month." Wade Brann looked down at his tablet. Felicia saw it. "Mr. Brann, is County reviewing a recent map revision?" Wade's thumb froze. "No comment tonight." Nolan's voice sharpened. "This gathering is informational." "Then give information," Grace said. Mist dotted the poster board until the green trail bled at its edges. Phones pointed at the dead microphone and Isaiah by the ditch with 38 years of taxes held against his chest. When he reached the porch, Ruth's wreath was still on the door. The red notice had left a pale square where the wood stayed dry. At 9:44 p.m., the porch bulb flickered over a fresh sheet of red paper. Isaiah had not heard anyone drive up. No tires on gravel, no engine fading toward Meadowview, only the kitchen clock ticking through the screen door. Final notice of lion enforcement and property turnover. The tape crossed the pale square where yesterday's notice had dried the wood. This one sat lower, covering the edge of Ruth's wreath again. Isaiah peeled it loose. The tape pulled one strand of wheat from the ribbon. He caught it before it fell. Inside, the kitchen smelled of cold beans and black coffee. One plate waited at the end of the table, fork still wrapped in a napkin. The balance was $18,940. He read it twice, then set it beside the plate. The phone buzzed. Marcus Reed appeared on the screen, his son in a white coat under the pear trees. Isaiah answered. "You studying?" "Trying. You sound outside." "I was at the door." "At 10 at night? Please tell me you're not fixing something." "Not tonight." "Something wrong?" Isaiah turned the notice face down. "How's the interview?" "Tomorrow at 9. They moved it up." "Dad, are you okay?" The clock ticked above the stove. "Your mother used to say interviews are rooms that forgot their doors." Marcus went quiet. "You only quote Mom when you're avoiding me." "I'm proud of you." "That's worse. If this is about those people across the road," Marcus said, "send me what they gave you." "No." "Why?" "Because tomorrow morning you need both hands free." "I'm not a child." "No. That's the truth I can give you. I'm handling it." "Promise me you'll call if it gets serious." Isaiah looked at the red letters. "I'll call." After they hung up, the bulb over the sink hummed. Outside, Maybelle bumped the stall door. Isaiah pulled a dented cookie tin from the pantry shelf. Ruth had kept buttons in it. Now it held deeds, tax receipts, a survey photo, and an envelope with her handwriting on the front. For the house, if people forget what home means. He did not open it first. He unfolded the oldest deed. The paper had softened at the creases. His father's name appeared in blue ink. Below it, the line that brought the farm back under Isaiah and Ruth in 1988. Behind it sat a thinner county document dated 1991. Agricultural Legacy Exemption. Non-association boundary protection. Signed by a judge long dead, with a clerk stamp faded to violet. Another envelope lay beneath it, cream-colored, with Cedar Ridge Mutual Bank printed in the corner. Isaiah held that one for several seconds, then slid it back under the exemption. Not yet. He opened Ruth's letter. Her handwriting leaned uphill. "If they ever make you feel small on your own land, don't spend your strength proving you are big. Make them read the paper. Make them say what they signed." Isaiah pressed the page flat. Outside, headlights moved along the road, then vanished behind Meadowview's gate. He placed Ruth's letter on top of the deed and set the exemption beside the red notice. Old Cream touched bright red. At 10:31 p.m., the landline rang. Isaiah waited until the second ring. On the third, he lifted the receiver. A woman's voice, low and rushed, said, Mr. Reed, don't go to county tomorrow. They changed more than the map. They changed the owner reference, too, the woman whispered. Isaiah held the receiver still. Emily, I'm not supposed to call. Then only say what you can stand behind. They added an access order draft. It's dated tomorrow, but Wade opened it tonight. Who requested it? Nolan Vance is in the note field. Her voice dropped. They're coming early. The line went dead. By 6:18 a.m., a county pickup and 2 Meadowview vehicles stopped at the farm gate. The air turned breath silver. Maybelle stamped in the barn. Marlene stepped out in a camel coat. Nolan carried a clipboard. Wade stayed by the pickup, orange flags under one arm. Isaiah met them at the gate with the 1991 exemption in a clear sleeve. Morning, Wade said. Temporary access order. From whom? County Code Coordination. Nolan lifted the clipboard. Inspection, marking. Protection of disputed frontage. This land is not disputed. Marlene sipped her coffee. It is now. Grace Holloway came out in slippers and a coat, phone in hand. You people don't sleep? Please remain off the work area, Wade called. Grace stopped at the ditch. Funny. Yesterday that was public shoulder. Wade pushed an orange flag beside the stone line. The plastic snapped in the wind. Another went near the gatepost. Another beside the barn path. Isaiah held up the sleeve. This exemption bars association encroachment on agricultural legacy parcels without independent title review. Nolan barely glanced at it. Sentimental paperwork doesn't halt county access. It's signed by Judge Caraway. Dead signatures don't manage modern development. Marlene's mouth twitched. Isaiah lowered the page so Grace's camera could see the stamp. Say that again. Nolan reached for the sleeve. Let counsel review it. You are counsel. For the association. Wade coughed. We're marking only. You're putting flags around my barn. Visual references. Marlene pointed toward the south pasture. Place them where the corridor bends. A young survey assistant looked from her to Wade. The order says frontage only. Nolan snapped. Do your job. The assistant stepped back, cheeks red. Isaiah moved 3 paces, not blocking anyone. Wade, look me in the eye and tell me you verified parcel 4086. Wade pushed a flag until the wire bowed. The system verified it. Systems don't open files after dark. Wade's hand stopped. Nolan came close enough for Isaiah to smell mint gum. Careful with accusations. Isaiah opened the sleeve. Careful with land. A gust came over the pasture. Nolan's hand brushed the paper. The top sheet slipped loose, spun once, and slapped into a muddy tire track beside the pickup. The violet clerk stamp soaked dark. No one bent. Grace said, I got that. Marlene turned. You are recording a legal procedure. I'm recording a paper in the mud. Isaiah knelt. Cold water seeped through one knee of his jeans. The judge's signature was still readable, but dirt ran across the seal. Nolan looked away first. Isaiah's phone buzzed. He wiped his fingers on a handkerchief and read the unknown number. The file was changed last month, not just revised, reassigned. A second message appeared. Check who benefits from parcel 7712. At 1:06 p.m., Isaiah parked behind Miller's Diner. Rain tapped the metal awning. Inside, the air smelled of onions, coffee, and wet coats. Emily Soto sat in the last booth with her county badge turned face down beside Sugar. Both hands circled a paper cup she had not touched. Isaiah slid in across from her. You should not have come if it costs you. She pushed a manila envelope toward him. It already might. This is the audit log, she said. Isaiah opened it halfway. Who printed it? I did. Wade told me to file your request and forget it. So I checked the timestamp first. A brown coffee ring had soaked into the top page, circling Wade Brand's login at 8:42 p.m. The stain blurred the edges, but not the name. Isaiah touched the margin. Nolan Vance? Same night, private note field. Parcel 7712 became a Meadowview utility strip. Then somebody attached your address to it. That is why their notice carried the wrong number, and why the system keeps pulling your farm into theirs. Across the room, Felicia Grant lowered her newspaper. Her recorder was already in her palm. Emily stiffened. I didn't call press. I did, Isaiah said. You said no noise. I said no show. Felicia came over, rain dark on her coat. The microphone video is spreading. Did it show tax receipts? It showed them cutting you off. That was enough. Emily rubbed the cup until the cardboard squeaked. Wade will say I stole records. Did you alter anything? No. Then speak only to what you saw. Felicia glanced toward the counter. We can move. No, Isaiah said. Let them hear the coffee machine. Emily slid a second page across. Tomorrow's access order draft. Farmhouse approach, south pasture, barn lane. Felicia leaned in. That is more than frontage. That is the house, Isaiah said. His phone vibrated. Marcus. Isaiah let it ring twice, then turned it over. My son has an interview, he said before Emily asked. He needs both hands free today. Isaiah placed Ruth's letter beside the audit log for 1 second, unopened. The old cream paper made Emily look down. My wife told me to make them read what they signed. The waitress refilled his cup. The coffee ring spread darker over Wade's timestamp, but did not swallow the minute. Felicia whispered, What do you want from me? Ask the county about parcel reassignment. Ask the HOA why a future amenities map uses private land. Do not print my answer yet. Why not? Because one more table needs to see these papers first. He took out a worn business card from behind the brass key. It had no title on it, only Cedar Ridge Mutual Bank and a direct number. Emily read it. Samuel Price? Senior counsel. He answers clean questions. He dialed from the booth. A measured voice answered. Cedar Ridge Legal. Sam, Isaiah Reed. Samuel Price said, Isaiah, tell me this is social. No, pull the Meadowview development file. Look for access representations tied to my south pasture. A pause. Paper moved on the other end. Are you asking as an affected landowner? Isaiah looked at the stained log, Emily's trembling fingers, and the neighbors pretending not to listen. For now, he said, and loop in Lila Monroe before anyone touches a disbursement. By 2:11 p.m., Cedar Ridge Mutual Bank had closed the blinds in Conference Room 3. Isaiah sat at the polished table with mud dried on one knee. Samuel Price spread the audit log beside the HOA map. Lila Monroe entered with 2 loan folders, tapped each document twice, and stopped at the orange flag wire hooked to Isaiah's cuff. Do you need a minute? No. Samuel pointed to the map. Start with access. Lila opened the first folder. Meadowview Estates Bridge Loan, Phase 2. Borrower states the proposed amenities corridor has no unresolved private title objections. Isaiah set the brass key beside Ruth's folded letter. My pasture is the corridor. This exhibit shows it as Future Association Common Space. Who submitted it? Victor Hales. HOA certification from Marlene Whitcomb. Legal acknowledgement from Nolan Vance. And county? Samuel asked. Memo from Wade Brown. Pending integration. Cold air breathed over the table. Toner drifted from the printer alcove. Lila tapped the second folder. Mrs. Whitcomb's mortgage modification notes increased value from proximity to an approved greenway. Samuel looked up. Approved? That is the word used. Samuel folded his hands. Did you sign any easement, consent, license, boundary adjustment, or HOA acknowledgement? No. Did Ruth? No. Lila pulled another sheet halfway free. Then this file is contaminated. Samuel closed his eyes. That word has teeth. A junior assistant leaned in. Mr. Hales is on line 2. He says he heard there's a hold. Tell him review is internal, Samuel said. He's asking for the chairman. The assistant's eyes flicked to Isaiah's jacket. Isaiah picked up the brass key. Put him through. Lila's hand froze. Are you sure? Samuel asked. Not as punishment, as a record. The speaker blinked green. Victor Hales came on fast. Sam, this better be a clerical delay. We have contractors waiting. This call includes Mr. Isaiah Reed, Samuel said. A small silence. The farmer? The landowner. We're handling that frontage issue with the HOA, Victor said. Isaiah leaned toward the speaker. What did Marlene Whitcomb tell you about parcel 4086? Victor's voice tightened. Who exactly am I speaking to? The man whose land appears in your loan file. Documents can be complex, sir. Samuel removed his glasses. Victor, answer him. The HOA represented that the old farm access would be brought into compliance. With my consent? That was not my understanding. Lila typed. Isaiah said, write those words exactly. Victor snapped. Sam, why is a borrower being interrogated by a... Because, Samuel said, Mr. Reed chairs this bank's board. The printer started, chatter filling the room. No one spoke over it. When the first notice slid into the tray, Isaiah returned Ruth's letter to his pocket. Do not warn them softly, he said. Check every signature, every map, every late-night change. If the papers are clean, let them breathe. If not, make them read what they signed. Lila lifted the page, Formal Default and Misrepresentation Review. Samuel nodded. Compliance starts now. Isaiah looked through the blinds toward the lot and wondered who would reach Marlene before the bank did. Marlene Whitcomb arrived at 4:52 p.m. with 2 cars behind her and victory on her face. The driveway was damp from rain. Orange flags leaned along the pasture. Grace Holloway stood near her mailbox. Trevor Miles waited by the ditch, camera strap across his chest. Marlene stepped out first. Mr. Reed, tomorrow we begin the turnover review. I wanted to offer one last civil option. Isaiah stood on the porch, brushing mud from the 1991 exemption. You brought an audience for a civil option? Nolan Vance climbed from the second car. Witnesses prevent misunderstandings. They didn't prevent the last one. Wade Brand stayed by the county pickup, eyes on his tablet. Marlene lifted a folder. Sign this. You may remain in the residence while the association determines appropriate use. Grace made a sound under her breath. Isaiah folded the cloth once. Read the parcel number. Nolan sighed. We are not doing that performance again. It keeps finding its way back. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, frowned, and muted it. It rang again. Take it, Isaiah said. I'm in a meeting. Then put the meeting on record. Nolan's face changed before hers did. He had seen the name. Marlene answered, voice bright. This is Marlene Whitcomb. The speaker was too loud. A woman came through clear. Mrs. Whitcomb, this is Lila Monroe with Cedar Ridge Mutual Bank Compliance. This concerns your mortgage modification and Meadowview development file. Trevor's camera dipped, then rose. Marlene stepped toward her car. I'll call you back from my office. I'm required to advise you that a formal misrepresentation review has been opened. The driveway lost its small noises. No cough, no gravel crunch. Lila continued. Pending review, related disbursements are suspended. The file may be referred outside if access representations were false. Marlene's smile fell in pieces. There must be a mistake. The term in the notice is misrepresentation. Grace whispered, Lord? Nolan reached for the phone. End the call. Marlene pulled it away. On whose authority? Board authority, Lila said. Marlene looked at Isaiah then, past the faded jacket and mud on his cuffs. Isaiah held out his hand. Grace, hand me that page. Grace crossed the ditch and picked up the exemption from the porch rail. The corner had dried stiff around Judge Carraway's violet stamp. Marlene's voice cracked. Mr. Reed, we can discuss this privately. We were private at the clubhouse, Isaiah said. The printer started after I left. Wade backed toward his truck. Lila's voice remained steady. Preserve all communications regarding parcels 4086 and 7712, the Greenway exhibit, and county access order drafts. Trevor murmured, This is live? Marlene spun. Turn that off. He did not. Isaiah took the page from Grace. Yesterday, this was sentimental paperwork. Nolan's mouth opened. Nothing came out. And tomorrow? Isaiah asked. A gust lifted the orange flags. One snapped loose near the barn lane and skittered across the driveway until it stopped against Marlene's polished shoe. Her phone stayed lit, and Lila Monroe said, Mr. Reed will receive the full compliance packet first thing in the morning. At 9:03 a.m., the Bryer County hearing room smelled of floor wax and wet wool. Isaiah sat behind the front rail with the old deed in a flat folder. Grace Holloway took the chair beside him. Emily Soto sat 3 rows back, county badge clipped to a gray sweater. Wade Brann rubbed his thumb over a dark tablet. Judge Miriam Kessler, 60, silver haircut blunt at her jaw, entered without a robe. This is an administrative title review, she said. Not a neighborhood argument. Perform for the room, and you can perform outside. County Chair. Roland Pike shifted in the corner. Marlene sat beside Nolan, lips pressed pale. Felicia Grant stood first. On October 16th, Meadowview showed a Greenway map with Mr. Reed's field, but without the barn, well, or stone line. On October 17th, a notice used parcel 7712 while naming his farmhouse. Nolan rose. A journalist's timeline is not evidence. Sit down unless you object to a document. Felicia laid out photos. The dead microphone, the 1914 marker, the red notice over Ruth's wreath. The room stayed quiet longest over the wreath. Grace connected her phone to the county monitor. This was filmed yesterday morning. The video showed Nolan dismissing the sleeve, the page sliding into the tire track, Isaiah kneeling in mud. His voice came thin through the speaker. Careful with land. Judge Kessler tapped her pen. Mr. Vance, did you call that exemption sentimental paperwork? In a pressured field setting, I used informal language. Answer cleanly. Yes. Emily stood when called, holding the audit log so tightly the paper bent. Retaliation protection applies only if you tell the truth, Judge Kessler said. I know. What did you see? Parcel 4086 was normal until September 12th. At 8:42 p.m., Mr. Brann opened the record. A pending integration note was added. A draft access order was created. The note field referenced Nolan Vance. Wade leaned forward. Clerical cleanup. Emily looked at him. You told me not to open the history. Judge Kessler slid the audit log beside Isaiah's deed. Mr. Brann, why was county land data edited after hours? Legacy parcels require updates. By whose request? Informal coordination. With whom? Nolan whispered. Do not speculate. Judge Kessler's pen stopped. Mr. Vance, one more instruction and you wait in the hall. Isaiah placed down the 1988 deed, then the 1991 exemption. I have one thing to add. In 1990, after 3 farms were carved up through pressure sales, I helped draft the county's legacy protection language. Ruth and I still slept in this farmhouse with buckets under 2 leaks. Roland Pike leaned forward. You drafted the rule? I helped write the part requiring direct certified notice, independent title review, and a public hearing before any association claim touched legacy farmland. Marlene's chair creaked. Isaiah looked at the red notice photo. No one sent me that notice. No title review was done, and the public hearing happened only because they made my porch one. Judge Kessler turned the exemption page toward the room. Then we will have the proper hearing now. She asked Wade Brand to unlock the full revision history on the county screen. The county screen took 12 seconds to load. No one spoke while the wheel turned. Rain ticked against narrow windows. Wade Brand kept one hand on the table and the other hidden in his lap. Judge Kessler leaned toward the monitor. September 12th. Emily moved the mouse because Wade did not. A list opened. Access note created. Boundary exhibit attached. Parcel reference reassigned. Each line carried a time, a login, and a name. At 8:42 p.m., Wade's account attached Meadowview Exhibit C. At 8:57, Nolan Vance's note appeared. Farm frontage must be treated as pending integration before winter sales package. Nolan stood. Privileged legal strategy. Judge Kessler looked over her glasses. It is in a county record. It was uploaded mistakenly. By whom? I would need to review. Samuel Price arrived with rain dark on his shoulders. Renee Caldwell, 39, a land records investigator, placed a sealed folder on the desk. State records received the same exhibit, Renee said. Victor Hales shifted in the back row. Renee opened the folder. Exhibit C crosses Mr. Reed's south pasture. Board certification by Mrs. Whitcomb. Legal acknowledgement by Mr. Vance. Marlene reached for her water. Lipstick marked the rim. As Renee read, she rubbed the mark with her thumb until the paper cup bent. The existing farmhouse obstacle must be resolved before winter sales presentation. That is not what I meant, Marlene said. Isaiah sat with both hands folded over the brass key. Renee turned a page. Make the old farmhouse disappear before winter sales, or Meadowview loses the premium lots. Email from Mrs. Whitcomb to Mr. Hales. Nolan snapped. Context matters. So does ink, Judge Kessler said. Samuel handed over the bank notice. Cedar Ridge has suspended disbursements and opened a misrepresentation review. Victor rose halfway. We relied on HOA and county representations. Sit, Mr. Hales. You may rely from a chair. Felicia turned her recorder toward Isaiah. Do you want to respond? He unfolded Ruth's letter, but did not read it aloud. The cream page lay beside the audit log. I want the record corrected, he said. Marlene's voice sharpened. You're letting them ruin me over a phrase. Isaiah finally turned. You put my wife's wreath under a seizure notice. Her mouth opened. He added quieter. That was not a phrase. The hearing room held still around that. Judge Kessler ordered the altered exhibit removed from county records pending state review. Wade was placed on leave before he could collect his tablet. Nolan was referred to the Land Practice Committee. Meadowview had to notify every buyer and lender that no Reed property was part of its amenities plan. Marlene rose too fast, knocking her cup over. Water carried the lipstick stain toward her printed email. Isaiah lifted his deed before it could get wet. Renee capped her pen. "We'll need copies of your original exemption. You'll have them? And the page that went into the mud." Grace opened her purse and took out a plastic sleeve. "I dried it flat under a cookbook." For the first time that morning, Isaiah took a breath deep enough to move his shoulders. Outside, the rain stopped, but the orange flags still waited in his field. At 7:26 the next morning, the first orange flag came out of the south pasture. It made a small, wet sound when Isaiah pulled the wire free. Mud clung to the point. He did not throw it away. He tapped it against a galvanized bucket and laid it beside the others. Grace stood by the road with coffee. "You keeping trophies now?" "Evidence becomes trash when people get comfortable." A county truck idled near the gate. Workers replaced the Meadowview corridor sign with a plain board. Reed Farm. Private agricultural land. Roland Pike crossed the shoulder, coat open, face gray from no sleep. "Mr. Reed." Isaiah pulled another flag. "Chair Pike. The commission voted emergency suspension on legacy parcel integrations. Suspension is not correction." "No?" Roland held out 3 pages. "That is why I brought the draft rule." Isaiah wiped his fingers on a rag before touching it. Roland read, "Certified confirmation from the landowner. Independent title review. Public notice. Recorded hearing before any association claim can be entered." Grace stepped closer. "Association claim. That the new polite word?" "It is the word our attorney accepted at 6. Isaiah turned the page. "Add audit access." Roland blinked. "Pardon?" "If a parcel is changed, the owner gets revision history within 24 hours. No counter. No process excuse." Grace lifted her cup. "And no after-hours magic." Roland wrote it down. "I can propose it." "No. Put it in this draft." A screw dropped from the new sign, clicked on stone, and rolled near the 1914 marker. A black sedan stopped behind the county truck. Lila Monroe stepped out with Samuel Price. "Isaiah," Samuel said, "Meadowview funds remain frozen. Mrs. Whitcomb's file is under review. Buyers and lenders get notice today." "Plain language?" Isaiah asked. Lila nodded. "No Reed acreage included. No county approval existed. No private consent was given." Grace whispered, "That'll travel faster than gossip." "Gossip beat us here," Samuel said. Across the road, Meadowview residents watched from behind the gate. Denise Larkin came last, carrying a cardboard box. "Mr. Reed?" Her red nails shook against it. "Old board minutes. The first map. Before it changed." Nolan's name was written on the top folder. Isaiah walked to the ditch. "Why bring them now?" Denise swallowed. "Because the printer worked that night. I just didn't." "You can hand me what you brought today," Isaiah said. She passed the box to Grace first, as if the ditch had become a line she needed permission to cross. At noon, Isaiah refused the podium near the gate. "Use the tailgate." Roland read the corrected notice from the truck. Felicia recorded every word. Pastor Eli stood by the stone line. When Roland finished, no one clapped. Workers loaded the old corridor sign. Isaiah lifted the bucket of flags and carried it to the barn. Hay dust floated through a strip of light. Maybelle nudged his shoulder. Grace appeared in the doorway. "You don't want them gone?" Isaiah hung the bucket on a nail. "I want to remember how easy they went in." Outside, the new sign held steady in the mist. In the pasture, the holes from the flags remained, dark marks where the ground had been pierced and had not yet closed. 3 months later, the brass key hung on a new nail beside Ruth's photograph. Isaiah had put it there after breakfast, not in a drawer, not back in his pocket. Morning light crossed the table and touched the repaired edge of the 1991 exemption. Outside, Maybelle stamped once, and the gate creaked open without dragging. Marcus stood in the doorway with his travel bag at his feet. His white coat was folded over one arm. "You kept all of this from me?" he said. Isaiah poured coffee into 2 chipped mugs. "I kept your hands free. My interview was one morning. Your mother would have said it was more than that." Marcus looked at Ruth's picture, then at the key. He picked up the red notice, now flattened in a clear sleeve, and read the wrong parcel number. "They really thought you were alone." Isaiah turned one mug so the handle faced his son. "For a while, I let them." Across the road, Meadowview's old board sign was gone. In its place stood a notice: Boundary Claims and Legacy Land Reviews. Require owner confirmation. Below it, smaller letters listed audit access, title checks, and hearings. The county report came out on a Thursday, 27 pages with no dramatic language. Wade Brann had resigned before the commission's vote and surrendered his access credentials. Nolan Vance was barred from representing HOA clients during a disciplinary review and ordered into supervised land practice training. Victor Hales's company paid for corrected disclosures to every buyer, and its loan remained restricted until Title Council cleared each phase. Marlene Whitcomb sold her Meadowview house under a mortgage settlement. On her last day, she crossed the road with a cardboard box of HOA files and set it on Isaiah's porch. "I should have read the old papers," she said. Isaiah did not invite her in. He looked at the box, then at the wreath Ruth had made. "Yes," he said. Grace Holloway took the Citizens' Review seat created after the hearing. Emily Soto returned to records with whistleblower protection and a new rule above the counter. No parcel status change without owner notice. Felicia Grant's article did not call Isaiah a hero. It called the farm the case that made Bryan County show its work. On the first Saturday of December, the Reed Gate opened for Harvest Day. Pastor Eli carried folding chairs. Calvin Moss brought cider in a dented thermos. Denise Larkin arrived with minutes from the rebuilt HOA board and kept both hands visible when she offered them. Neighbors who had filmed Isaiah in the ditch now stepped over the stone line only after asking permission. Trevor Miles came without a camera. He helped stack hay bales and left before anyone thanked him. Marcus stood near the 1914 marker, reading the date with his thumb resting on the metal. "She knew you'd win?" he asked. Isaiah followed his eyes to Ruth's photograph visible through the kitchen window. "No," he said. "She knew paper remembers." By sunset, laughter drifted near the pear trees, though no one crossed into the private pasture. The orange flags stayed in their bucket in the barn, clean now, but not hidden. The holes they had left in the field had filled with rain and softened over. Isaiah closed the gate after the last car left. Marcus waited beside him. Together, they walked back toward the farmhouse, where the brass key caught the final light and held it. If this story reminded you of a time when someone tried to use paperwork, status, or public pressure to make another person feel powerless, share it in the comments. Your experience may help someone else recognize the moment when silence is being mistaken for surrender. Send this story to someone who believes dignity matters even when no one is watching. And justice means more when it changes the system, not just one outcome. Subscribe for more stories about quiet resilience, hard-won fairness, and the people who stand steady until the truth finally has to be read out loud.